With being a Psych NP for over 5 years, I've had my fair share of places that I absolutely loved working at, especially because of the setting. But there's some places that I did not like at all. And in this video, I'm going to be going over the top areas that I absolutely love to work at as a Psych NP and that you should work at. So if you're interested in any of these topics, make sure you stay tuned. Welcome back to the channel, Life of a Psych NP. If you're new to this channel, let me formally introduce myself. I'm Darty. I'm a board-certified psychiatric nurse practitioner, and in this channel, I go over several different topics related to nursing, nurse practitioners, and specifically psychiatric nurse practitioners like myself. So if you're interested in any of these topics, feel free to subscribe, make sure you like this video, and follow me on Instagram at LifeofaPsychNP. So you probably clicked this video because you're interested in finding out the top areas to work at as a psychiatric nurse practitioner, especially in 2023. And things have changed, especially over the years, and there's more and more opportunities popping up. But I wanted to shed light on the top areas that I feel like are great, whether they're settings, whether they're a specific area, or they're different type of modality that we provide in terms of our treatment. And this is going to be a great video because it's going to shed light on what I feel like is going to be important, whether you're new, whether you're in school, or your experience. And it's just going to be able to shed light on these areas, what are the good things about these areas, and pretty much just converse about it. If you are interested in all of these things, make sure you stay tuned until the very end of the video because I'm going to be going over my top area that I feel that it's a great opportunity, especially in this day and age. So let's go. So the very first setting or area that you should work at as a psychiatric nurse practitioner in 2023 is working at a community mental health center. So this is a great thing because working at a community mental health center sets you up for success in understanding how to deal with the severe population. So you're going to be dealing primarily with serious mental illness population of patients, and you get to understand how these symptoms might portray and how it affects people on an every single day-to-day basis. So you're understanding and dealing with patients that might have multiple comorbidities, and this is great because as a new grad or even as an experienced NP, you get to start to understand how certain medications will impact or affect the patient, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, because a lot of the medications you'll use in these settings are part of like the older school meds, which I'm not saying it's like, oh yeah, the newer school meds are better, like the Caplyta, Vraylar, but there's some tried and true like the Risperdal, and you get to understand how to utilize some of those meds, maybe even go towards like even like Haldol Deck, or maybe utilizing Invega Sustenna, Invega Trinza, Invega Hafayera. Things like these things is where you're going to understand how to utilize all the different types of medications. So you can go from the older school meds like the Haldols, first gen antipsychotics, and then you'll start to use the second gen, and you get to understand that. And then once you're able to have a grasp of that system, then you'll be able to utilize those skills to help anyone, because the newer and newer medications, yes, they're great, but they work in different ways. But having that solid foundation of how to utilize other medications, especially in the serious mental illness population, is going to set you up for success. So that's why I highly, highly recommend working in a community mental health center. So the second setting or area that you should work at as a psychiatric nurse practitioner in 2023 is inpatient hospitals. And this is a great thing because in inpatient hospitals, you get to understand the severe of the severe. I'm not saying like in the sense of, oh, they're chronically severe, but more so acutely severe. And in this sense, it's something where you get to understand how to treat them and being able to treat them in a different type of setting. And I think this does apply in terms of like working in a psych ER. This is going to be a good thing also because you got to kind of see when they're in that manic or psychotic or that actively suicidal phase. And this is a good thing because you get to understand like what these people are going through, understanding their stressors, and being able to treat them and effectively get them from the suicidal or psychotic or manic phase into more of a stable phase for you to discharge out into the community. And understanding that gives you a better sense of, okay, if I have a patient, especially if you're working in like the outpatient setting later on, if I have this patient, what can I actively do to kind of reduce it going into knowing that they might be hospitalized, or making sure that you can kind of get them out of it before they even can be hospitalized. And that's the big thing, right? Especially when it comes to insurances and when it comes to patients, is making sure we reduce the amount of admissions into the hospital, because that can cost way more, especially for the insurance or even the patient. And it definitely will impact kind of like your psyche, especially if you're like, oh, as a new grad, like, oh, my patient got hospitalized, I'm such a bad provider. And it's not that. And the reason why I bring up working in the inpatient setting is because it'll give you that understanding. It'll give you ability for you to critically think in order to get them from this actively acute phase into more of a stable phase for you to discharge into community. So if it's somewhere you want to think about or something that you want to be able to experience, definitely think about working as an inpatient psychiatric provider, whether you're doing rounds there or you're actually working in the unit. So it's very, very good experience for sure. So the third area that you should work in 2023 as a psychiatric nurse practitioner is working for a federally qualified health center. And this is the one. And the reason why I bring this up as my third one is because very similar to the community mental health center setting, but in federally qualified health centers, it gives you opportunity to impact more of the lower socioeconomic areas. I'm not saying that in community mental health settings that you don't do that, but federally qualified health centers, there's a reason why they're qualified to be able to provide the service there, whether they're providing the mental health, the medical, or the dental. You're going to be able to be in a setting that has all of these things. And this is the beautiful part that I mentioned, is because you have all of these things. So in community mental health settings, a lot of the times they're kind of isolated to just one area and they're just doing their mental health. But in these settings, you have access and accessibility to other providers in other specialties, so you can provide the highest quality of care, not only on the mental health side, but be able to refer them and get all the things that you need, whether it's labs, you need a physical, whether they need dental, and they have all of the resources in terms of having a caseworker, a case manager, and the resources for the community things. And this is the better all-around care. I think that just being able to work in the setting kind of spoils you, because a lot of times, especially in the outpatient setting or community mental health setting, is you might be able to get labs, and that you're lucky if you can get labs drawn in the facility, but a lot of times you have to send them to like LabCorp, or if you have to send them to Quest Diagnostics, and you're hoping that they actually will go there and get it done, and a lot of times they don't, and it just becomes a pain in the butt. But if you're in these federally qualified health centers, then you can be like, oh hey, I'm setting you up an appointment with your primary care provider and for you to do labs in-house, or I'm setting you an appointment for you to be getting your dental work done. And this is where it helps all, like, just for the quality of care for the patient. And other things, especially working for a federally qualified health center, is a lot of the times if you stay there long enough, you qualify to get majority of your loans reimbursed, especially if you go through like HRSA or you go through those Nurse Corps, and be able to get some of your loans forgiven. And this is a huge thing, especially with all the people gathering so many loans just to be able to go back to school, especially for those that are getting their, oh, they got their BSN and then they got their NP, but it wasn't in Psych, it was in FNP, and then now you go back to Psych, and then you get your DNP, and sooner or later you're in hundreds and thousands of dollars of loans, and you can work in these federally qualified health centers and you can get it forgiven. And I think that's a huge, huge thing. So if you're thinking about it, if you have high loans, you want to get good experience, and you want to be able to provide the highest quality of care, not only on the mental side of things, but have someone be able to do the physical side of things, or the medical side of things, or the dental side of things, then think about working here. So the fourth and final, the one you've been waiting for, is working in a outpatient private practice. And I think this is opportunity for so many different things, because the reason why I wanted to wait for this for the last one, and my favorite one, obviously I'm biased because I have my own private practice and I work in this outpatient setting, is it gives you the flexibility for so many different things. And whether you're wanting to start your own private practice, link down below. If you're interested in my course, make sure you check it out. But if you're wanting to either start your own private practice or work in outpatient private practices, then I would definitely say do so. And the reason being is because it gives you understanding about patients, especially long-term, and you get to provide them patients with long-term care because you're with them from if they're being treated as an adolescent or a child all the way to adulthood, or if they're treated from adulthood all the way throughout their whole life. And this is a great thing. It's because you get to start to build relationships, you get to start to understand and see the person going through all of these different things and being able to help them. And I think it's the most rewarding in a sense of being able to give back. And obviously things change, patients won't be with you forever, but it gives you a sense of understanding them because how frequently you see them. And this isn't the case in many other places, especially like inpatient or urgent cares or psych ERs. You're not going to necessarily see them long term unless you work in that outpatient setting and see the progression they made, especially as things are getting better. And it gives you a different mindset, especially when patients do get discharged from inpatient facilities to you, because you have to think about, okay, yes, they're on these meds, but these meds were just to stabilize them. Let's get them on something that's going to be able to help them out long term, because anyone can discharge someone on Zyprexa and the patient's gaining like 30, 40, 50 pounds. No one wants to kind of live with that weight unless they're already super duper skinny, but no one wants to have that drastic weight gain. So the difficult part, especially being in the outpatient setting, is understanding and be like, okay, let's get them on a medication that's maybe a little bit more metabolic friendly, but still doing its job in the sense of whatever it's doing, right? And that's kind of the difficult part about it. And not only is it rewarding in a sense of being able to kind of help these patients, but it's financially rewarding as well, and it offers you the flexibility to be able to do multiple things. Not only are you having to go into certain facilities and having to see the patients there all the time, but this offers the opportunity for you to do some telehealth. And a lot of people love telehealth because you get to work in the comfortable area like your own home, or working in an office and not having that same interaction all the time with patients constantly popping in. And especially if you have like a family or a newborn like myself, it's nice being able to just to do telehealth and see the patients telehealth, but also at the same time having that flexibility to have people come in and be able to provide that care. Obviously there's downfalls in working in outpatient or having your own private practice, like not necessarily having that community or that caseworker side of things. Obviously you can do that, but it's a little bit more limited in the private practice area. But it gives you that opportunity, like I said, to be able to do a lot more for yourself. It's also beneficial for the patient, but for yourself, the flexibility. You're able to kind of work for yourself, demand your own hours, and then you get to be able to ask for a certain amount of pay because of the reimbursement, or see as many patients as you want. There's opportunities are endless, especially working in that private practice setting and the outpatient private practice setting. So if you're thinking about all of these different things and looking at all the different areas, definitely think about working in outpatient private practice, because it'll give you so much more back, not only for the patient, but for yourself, for you to kind of succeed as a Psych NP altogether. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope it shed light on the areas that I like. Obviously, there's so many different other areas that you can work in, like the prison. You can work for this child adolescent, just specific clinics. You can work in the psych ER, psychiatric urgent care, but definitely check out all of those different areas. And at the end of the day, it's gonna come down to what you want, your lifestyle, what you're trying to gain from it, and just go from there and check it out. And I've been one to check out all these different places. And yes, I won't stay at certain places for that long because I wasn't happy. So once you find that happy medium for you to have the giving back portion and the lifestyle portion, then things are gonna obviously get a lot better and easier for you moving forward. Well guys, as always, thank you so much. If you haven't already, if you made it this far, thank you so much for being here. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to my channel, follow me on Instagram at LifeofaPsychNP, and have a wonderful day. Bye!